All right, if you're a Blue Lock fan, you know exactly the moment I'm talking about. When Ego Jinpachi laid eyes on Nagi Seishiro's valuation, man, that wasn't disappointment. That was pure, unfiltered disgust. So today, we're going to get into it. We're going to break down the brutal truth behind why Ego seems to hate Blue Lock's most frustratingly talented player. And it all boils down to this one absolutely soul-crushing line. This wasn't feedback. This was a verbal execution, live for everyone to see. Ego didn't just knock Nagi's value down a few pegs, he tried to wipe him off the map entirely. So the big question is, why? What in the world did Nagi do to earn that level of pure contempt? Okay, so let's just look at the number itself. 24 million yen. You gotta remember, in the world of the Neo-Egoist League, your salary is your worth. It's everything. And in that context, 24 million isn't just low, it's a joke. It's basically a giant flashing sign that says failure. And if you need some perspective, just look at this. This really shows you how humiliating that number is. You've got Isagi, our main guy, soaring at 100 mil. You got Shigiri with his insane speed, bagging 50 mil. And then there's Nagi, sitting at less than half of what Shigiri's worth and, not even a quarter of Isagi's. For Ego, the guy who built this entire system from the ground up, that's gotta be like swallowing poison. So let's dive into the first part of this. Ego didn't just give Nagi a low price tag. No, he framed it as a public execution of his potential. He basically put up a tombstone for Nagi's career. And you know what the cause of death was? Terminal laziness. And you have to understand, Ego's reaction here, it's not just a coach being disappointed. This is personal. It's a deep, philosophical kind of hatred. He's not just ticked off that Nagi played badly. He's furious that a player like Nagi, in his current lazy state, even exists inside the hyper-competitive pressure cooker that is Blue Lock. And that right there, that gets us to the absolute core of the problem. Because Nagi Seishiro, he is the living, breathing embodiment of the one thing Blue Lock was designed to utterly destroy. And here it is, the lazy genius. You know the type, the player who is born with a gift from the heavens and treats it like it's just a boring chore. For years and years, Japanese soccer was supposedly held back by this exact problem. Players with all the talents in the world, but no ego, no fire, no real hunger to be the best. Nagi, well, he's basically the final boss of that entire mindset. I mean, the contrast is hilarious when you think about it. You've got Isagi over here breaking down game film like he's trying to crack the Da Vinci Code. You've got Barou training like he's about to fight Godzilla. And then there's Nagi, who's probably wondering if napping counts as cardio. His whole vibe is just a giant middle finger to the entire philosophy of Blue Lock, which is that you forge talent in fire. You don't just get it handed to you. All right, so let's really deconstruct this disdain. If we break down Ego's epic verbal beatdown, we can see exactly what ingredients make up his rage. It all starts with this line, because Ego isn't blind, right? He knows. He's basically saying you were born with more natural talent than 99% of players will ever even dream of having. The subtext is crystal clear. You started this race miles ahead of everybody else. You were literally given a cheat code to the game.
And then he turns that gift into a weapon.
He's reminding Nagi just how precious it is by pointing out what everyone else would do for it. And let's be real, he's not exaggerating. A guy like Isagi would probably sell his soul just to have Nagi's first touch. Think about it. Players like Isagi have to use every single ounce of their brain and their body to do what Nagi does without even thinking. So when Nagi wastes that talent, he's not just letting himself down, he's spitting on the hard work of every single person around him. And it goes deeper. Nagi's laziness is a direct insult to Noah, the best striker on the planet and the living blueprint for Blue Lock's entire ideology. Noah might have had the same raw materials, but he took that raw material and forged it into a weapon through sheer force of will. Nagi, on the other hand, has just left his world-class engine to rust in the garage.
Okay, but this brings us to a really fascinating fan theory. What if Ego's hatred isn't just about his philosophy? What if it's way more personal than that?
I mean, just think about it for a second. Ego was also a genius, right? A player who could have been world-class, but his career got cut short, partly because he had his own attitude problems and clashed with the system. So when he looks at Nagi, what if he's seeing a reflection? A ghost of his own wasted potential, the path he could have gone down. But here's the key difference. Ego took all that frustration and anger and channeled it into creating Blue Lock. Nagi takes his boredom and takes a nap. It's totally possible Ego hates Nagi because he sees the worst version of his younger self. But this whole thing isn't just about tearing Nagi down. We're talking about Ego Jinpachi here. Everything is a calculation. This brutal verbal assault, it's a high-stakes gamble, and it's all designed to do one thing: force an evolution. You can almost see it play out, can't you? It's the classic anime glow-up. First, Nagi, totally humiliated, finally finds that fire inside him. He actually starts to grind, and everyone around him is just shocked. Then comes the match. He's not waiting for a pass from Reo anymore. No, he goes out and creates his own chance, his own future. And you just know, somewhere in that dark control room, Ego is watching, and he lets out the tiniest little smirk, thinking, "Took you long enough." So in the end, that's what this is all about. This brutal takedown is Ego's last resort. It's a desperate final challenge. He's throwing down the gauntlet and giving Nagi the same choice everyone in Blue Lock gets: evolve or be erased. The only difference here is that the stakes are astronomical, because the potential being wasted is just off the charts. And that leaves us with the $1,000,000, or I guess the 24 million yen, question. Was this public humiliation, this obituary, the shock to the system Nagi needed to finally wake up? Or is he going to go down as Blue Lock's biggest what if? You know, the genius who was handed the world on a silver platter and just couldn't be bothered to pick it up. The ball's in your court, Nagi.